Ben Higgins is most well known for his appearance as The Bachelor in 2016. Since then, he has used his notoriety to do good in the world. He founded the nonprofit organization Generous Coffee, which invests 100% of its profits in changing the lives of others. He and his fiancée Jessica also created the t-shirt line and video series Hope Still Wins, which benefits businesses affected by COVID-19 and brings to light a dark season. Please welcome Ben Higgins.
Hi, Ben. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. What a joy to have you.
I'm pumped to be here.
Are you staying safe through COVID-19 and all of that stuff?
Yeah, I am. Very safe so far, and I'm right now hanging out in Franklin, Tennessee, which is a great place.
Oh, cool. Great. Well, thank you again for being here. I just, so many of us really love your story because you do such a great job of walking that line as a believer in a very secular world, but still being, proudly Christian and helping your neighbor and this type of thing. But a lot of people, most people know who you are, especially if they enjoy The Bachelor, but a lot of people may not know your life before The Bachelor. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, in short, to summarize the important parts, I live in Denver, Colorado currently. I'd spent the exciting parts of my life I grew up in Indiana, and I spent about 10 years up until The Bachelor traveling back and forth to Central America. And so before The Bachelor, I was really kind of focused on more sustainable change in communities that are impoverished. And then The Bachelor happened, and that switched things up forever.
So were you doing like missionary or humanitarian work or something like that?
Yeah. We've been going down with my church for years, and we started an organization called Humanity and Hope United. And what happens, we would go down and ask these communities, what do they need? What do they want? What do they dream of? And instead of kind of telling them what they need, we would unite with them and build up communities that would hopefully be able to sustain themselves long into the future. And so it was missions work. It was a Christian organization, yet a lot of it had to do with just the value that we saw in people to say, hey, we want to see you be able to succeed.
Yeah, we did a lot of that too with my wife's brother, where we would bring eyeglasses and insulin to places that you'd be surprised how important insulin is in some of these far-reaching places, But so then you're doing this, this is your life, and then all of a sudden you get launched first into The Bachelorette in 2015. You didn't win, but people loved you so much, or probably girls loved you so much, that they brought you back in 2016 to be The Bachelor. And what was that whole experience like for you? It must have been a crazy, because it would have been like 2 years in a row, right? Of just Bachelor.
It was wild. Let me tell you this. I grew up in a very small town in Indiana, Warsaw, Indiana. I'd moved to Denver for a job in the basement of a company. And all of a sudden I'm being thrown into the spotlight where, one of the most watched shows on television, you are the lead of this. It's a whirlwind. It's hard to process. A lot of it you don't even I'm still processing some of the drastic changes that happened in my life due to that show today.
And it wasn't that long ago. It was just a few, 3-4 years ago. So,
it wasn't that long. Yeah. And it's been good. I think the crazy part is I wouldn't be talking to you unless I did that show. So there's been a lot of positive changes from it.
But you were a pretty outspoken Christian, but I remember you were getting some flack from probably some people in the church. How could you be on the show? But so many other Christians, I think, really felt it was great that you were there, kind of almost showing a different view on love and relationships. How did you feel about that? It must have been hard getting that. And what was your hope in that as a believer?
Yeah, there's a lot of opinions that I have on that. And I do hear the criticism. Yeah. I hear it often. My main point to that is I never, as a Christian, my goal is to follow in the ways of Jesus. And I never knew Jesus to be scared, to shy away from, to turn his back on the people who maybe didn't agree or believe with him. He walked headfirst into it with a compassion, a kindness, and a love that was evident and that was life-changing for many. And so for me, I knew that people, you don't know me unless you understand my faith and my trust in Christ. And so for me, I was never fearful. I never felt weird or bad about it, mostly because I knew that it was for a purpose.
Yeah. And it really did end up launching, in a way, I would call it your ministry. You probably don't use that word, but here we would say, God is using, you reached millions and millions of Americans, probably, all of it was a secular audience. It was not a religious show at all. And that, I feel like, must have opened up so many doors for you to help so many people. We're going to get to some of the ways you're doing that, but it really did open the door, didn't it?
100%. It's actually funny. Last night I was standing outside, a neighbor walked by, and he goes, because I'm with my fiance's family right now. He goes, hey, if you never would have gone on the show, or you never would have had to go on the show if you met your fiance earlier. And I said, but let's pause to think about all the great things that have happened from that show. It's funny, it's humorous, and I don't take it lightly. But because I went on a reality television show, now people want to hear what I have to say.
Yeah.
And that's something I steward. Like, I know that is a huge responsibility. It's also humorous and ironic, but it's true. And so now I get to talk about Jesus, and people want to listen. That never happens without it.
I know, I love it. And even you and your fiance have made a public statement that you're not going to sleep together till you're married. And I think that even that is a splash of cold water on the faces of even a lot of Christians in a place like LA. Like, I just think it's a great thing that you're doing, and I'm really proud of you guys for how outspoken you are about your faith. And of course, nobody's perfect, but to be willing to go into these different places and show everyday people the gospel, I'm just really grateful for you guys. We really are. I want to talk to you.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to add there, the reason we do all that is our faith and our trust in Christ is real to us. I've always said, if you take Jesus away from me, I really have nothing. Mm-hmm. And we have nothing as a couple. And so that's where that comes from, is just a deep desire to say, this is it for us. We're putting our eggs in this basket.
Well, before we let you go, I really want to talk about two more awesome things that you're doing so people can support your work. The first is clearly going to Central America for 10 years of your life, you became a coffee fan. And I always think, I assume you are a huge coffee fan, but you and your friend Riley, you started this thing called Generous Coffee. Tell us about that, what you're hoping to accomplish, and how people can support that mission.
I really appreciate you asking. So I'll speed through this, and if you want more details, feel free to reach out to me, but through email or through our team. But we're going on to Honduras for years. We're building up these communities. It's a nonprofit, like any nonprofit. Fundraising is difficult. It's hard to sustain. So we thought we'd create a for-profit company, call it For Purpose, and we would donate all the profits from the sale of our products to nonprofits that need a sustainable fundraising source. It just happened to be that coffee was our really product of choice because it brought people together. It defied borders. It defied geographic location. A lot of people like coffee. Yeah. And so we wanted to sell coffee that was at the highest quality coffee. So this is specialty grade coffee from producers that you and I could go visit. We know where the coffee's coming from. We know how they're being treated. There's a lot of injustice in coffee. So we wanted to fight that injustice there, donate these profits back, and kind of give our tagline, say, you're going to drink coffee anyways. Why not make it life-changing coffee? And so that's where we started Generous Coffee. You can go to generouscoffee.com to find some today, but it's now my full-time job. It is what I do daily. It's a passion project for me. It's not where I take a salary from, but it's a thing that I believe is the future of fundraising.
That's awesome. I will go get some coffee this morning after church. I really will. And I can't wait to try it and see it. And it does feel good to feel like you're making a difference, especially when you have a chemical dependence on something like coffee. It brings a little balance, which I do. I drink so much coffee, as you can probably tell from my spazziness. But also, and then the other thing, your fiance Jessica has started this T-shirt line that is also pretty cool too. It does a similar type thing, this kind of profit model to benefit nonprofits, and it's called Hope Still Wins. Tell us a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, when COVID hit, my agency in LA called and said, "Hey, there's a huge need for a faith-based program." Mm-hmm. And they said, "Would you be interested in starting something?" I said, "I would. That sounds great, but I don't know where and how. Production is stopped right now." So what we decided upon was starting an Instagram Live where I'd interview people that I've admired from a distance or maybe admired up close, interview them on my Instagram Live to talk about some of the things happening in our world. We called it Hope Still Wins. Well, at the same time, then we started a company that is a print-on-demand apparel company, and we would print apparel that said "Hope Still Wins" on it, or "Hope is Contagious." We would sell these products from T-shirts to sweatshirts to baby clothes, and then donate the profits to organizations again in need, or organizations that are suffering during this time. It's been what, three and a half months, and it's going wildly well. It's been really successful. And it just shows. I mean, if you start a project with the idea that good can come from it, a lot of people want to join on. There's a lot of people out there that want to help.
That's great. Well, thank you, Ben. And if you're watching at home, go to Hope Still Wins and get your clothes and buy some coffee, a generous coffee to help people in need, especially during this COVID-19 thing. Ben, you are just, there's so many people in this church on Our Power that love you so much and are just rooting for you. And we're so thankful for someone like you. And thank you again for taking the time in your busy schedule to be with us today. Ben Higgins, we appreciate you so much.
Hey, I appreciate you all. Thank you for having me, and happy Sunday.
All right, God bless you. Take care.